It seems like just a few days ago that the leaves were just beginning to change, and the crisper days and longer nights were just beginning to set in. But now we're already moving into the winter solstice season soon, and I'm looking back on how I spent my fall. It's been a wild time lately, with preparing to move house, helping my sister move, and having my mom up for a family visit. Not to mention some unexpected bumps in the road and a friend of mine passing away. I haven't had as much time to edit videos as I've hoped, but I've stayed diligent in filming the magical moments for whenever I would get to share them with you. So for today's video, I wanted to catch up and invite you to come along with me for what I filmed in late September into early October, the season of the autumn equinox. In my last vlog, I tried something different with a no talking style video, but so many of my returning viewers said they missed the dialogue, so I'm back with a sort of hybrid video. This one will include some ASMR scenes with no added sound, as well as some with music and others with voiceover. Here's a little preview of what we'll be doing in this video. I'll be brewing up a cozy simmer pot to make my home smell like fall, doing a fall morning ritual, and showing you one of my favorite magical hacks for staying centered, grounded, and in tune with nature, even in not so naturey environments, journaling for the autumn equinox, and some fall lunar astrology, flip-throughs of my autumn-themed paper pack, and a dark feminine grimoire journal that I made for the Writing Witch shop, cozying up with some Halloween media, hiking with my mom in a new park, going to a movie music concert that I think some of you guys are really gonna love, harvesting the last of the fall crops, some eco-friendly home and garden hacks, observing the harvest moon, and more. So pour yourself a cup of hot cider and let's make some magic in this cozy, relaxing autumn witchy vlog. It's that time of year when the leaves have changed, the days are growing shorter, and we're starting to feel that crisp wind blowing through our hair. I'm the kind of seasonal witch who definitely does celebrate the Sabbats, obviously, but I also celebrate what's happening in nature as it's happening. So when I notice the tree in front of my house starting to change, that's when I start bringing in the autumn decor. Preferably including some real stuff like real pumpkins and squashes. For me, this time of year is all about the home and hearth vibes, feeling into our harvest, whether it be literal or figurative, and focusing as much on gratitude as possible. As a magical maven, I know that gratitude is one of the most magical tools we have to up our vibration and become a match to the things we truly desire to be grateful for more in our lives. And this time of year is a yearly reminder to make sure that our gratitude rituals and practice are up to date and truly serving us. It's also time to bust out my trusty, crusty simmer pot and do a little bit of kitchen magic. Now, as you can see, this is a vintage silver pot that has seen better days, so I don't use this one for cooking. I only use it for magical simmer pots like the one we're going to be doing together. Simmer pots are simple. All you need to do is essentially throw things that smell good to evoke a vibe into a pot of lightly simmering water. To make it witchy, you can be clear on the intentions that you have to be filling your house as the steam is dispersing throughout your home. You can select herbs and spices and other random ingredients that you feel evoke the energy that you want to bring into your life. Now, I'm not going to go into immense detail on every single ingredient I threw in here because we'd be here all day. But if you decide to join me in the Writing Witch Coven over on Patreon, there you will find the full tutorial. Especially for this time of year, I always simply start with the basic fall spices because those ones are some of the most accessible and the most powerful magical witchy herbs that we can use. I started with cinnamon and nutmeg and a beautiful star anise. These are all things that kind of pack a punch and, to me at least, represent some fire energy. And at the time when I was doing this spell, I was ready to see some movement, literally. I have recently manifested my next incarnation of my ideal home. I'm so excited to start sharing that with you soon, but October was a month when I decided that I had the last straw with my current apartment building, and so one of the first things that I did after burning the lease renewal letter that was sent to me in my cauldron, I decided to do a little bit more gentle magic of actually calling in the energy of the home that I wanted once I had burned away the energy of what I was no longer willing to tolerate. So along with my spicy packing a punch types of spices, I also threw in things like lavender and rose to represent the sweetness and comfort that I'm bringing into my life. I threw orange in there for some refreshing vibes. I threw a pine cone in there to represent my new home being connected to the earth, and some sunflowers to represent the garden, the real garden that I'm finally gonna have. And hey, it worked. Obviously, there's a lot more work, both magical and mundane, that needed to happen in order for me to manifest my home, but I'm gonna say that this simmer pot was part of that success. So magical mavens, if you've been following the channel for a while, you know that one of the biggest parts of my spiritual practice has been finding a connection to nature by transforming my second-story patio into a magical garden. But in order for that to be possible, I needed to bring in some additional support, not just from Mother Earth, but also from technology. Even though we would all like to imagine ourselves as these magical forest witches who just live in tune with nature, the truth is that everything is about balance and using the resources and the elements to create the reality that we desire. As I've been manifesting my new home, which is in a much more natural and quiet environment, I have implemented the use of both magical thinking and tangible resources to help kind of trick my brain and my nervous system into feeling like I had already achieved that successful, magical, nature-filled life. For me, sound is a really immersive experience. So in order to stay sane in this environment, I have relied very heavily on noise-canceling headphones and meditation music and soundscapes. So I was really excited when Aura reached out to me. They are an app on your phone that not only contains tons of beautiful soundscapes that can help you to escape into nature, they also have all kinds of different guided meditations. Sometimes the best way to just step into a more aligned reality and an aligned mood is to actually manipulate what your mind is doing by manipulating what you are hearing. So I absolutely love this app. I have really begun to almost rely on it in a way. It's a really quick option if you just need to escape from some noise like I'm doing in this morning ritual. But I also like to do their guided meditations as I'm falling asleep at night. Fall for me is a season of focusing on sleep hygiene because the daylight hours are shifting and it's dark in the daytime still. Sometimes my brain gets confused when it is actually time for bed. So I like to use a guided sleep meditation on the Aura app, and it's really been helping a lot. I would love to invite you to try it. So the first 500 people who use my special link will get a 7-day free trial so that you can use it for your morning and evening rituals and see how it actually works with you. And then if you decide that you want to continue your subscription, you will also get 25% off. Go to the link down below and sign up right away. I really think you're going to like this app. So I am someone who believes that a morning and or evening ritual, or a quote-unquote daily ritual, gets to be different every day if that's what genuinely works for you. So all of us are a little bit different. Some of us really need a sense of consistency in order to stay centered and grounded and moving forward with our goals and desires. Others of us need a lot of freedom to feel into what kind of ritual we feel like we need that day. And some of us, like myself, are somewhere in the middle. Personally, I am a firm believer in the concept of freedom within structure. As an Aquarius, freedom and ability to be innovative and follow what is genuinely true for me from one moment to the next is really, really important. I also happen to be an emotional authority in the human design system, which means that I have a predictable emotional wave that goes through highs and lows, which doesn't always mean good and bad. It sometimes also just means a lot of energy versus less energy, more creative energy versus more restful energy, for example. I've also learned about the concept of lunar astrology, which can actually have a huge effect on your energy depending on what sign the moon is in. Again, that looks different for everyone depending on their chart, but what I've discovered is that it makes perfect sense with this concept of having an emotional wave. The way my chart is, the masculine elements, fire and air, are always paired together when it comes to the sign and the house, and then the feminine elements, which are water and earth, are always paired together. So when the moon is in a masculine sign, it means automatically that I am in that more masculine, active energy. Whereas if the moon is in a feminine sign, it means that I am almost certainly in a more restful energy. So what this boils down to is that depending on where I'm at in my energetic cycle, some days I might want to be outside gardening or composting or simply enjoying nature while reading or doing some kind of a guided meditation. Whereas other days I might want to be cozied up on the couch, just me and the cat and a cup of tea and some journal prompts. It really depends what element my energy is kind of leaning towards. So if you've been watching this channel, you probably are well aware of how much I love working with the energies of the 8 witches seasons. And I always do 5 journal prompts during the 6 weeks that spans each one of those Sabbath seasons. But what you might not know is that I've also incorporated the structure of lunar astrology into my journaling practice as well. So I track what sign the moon is in for each of the main 4 moon phases. So the new moon, the first quarter moon, the full moon, and the last quarter moon. There's an interesting pattern with those that will actually help us to understand the flow of our energy a lot better. And it's really easy to keep track of when there's just a printable worksheet that you can remember to do on certain days of the month. It evens out to 1 journal prompt per week for the lunar astrology. This is kind of a huge topic, so if this is something that you would like a more in-depth video on, please leave me a comment and let me know. And in the meantime, if you just want to dive right in and start working with this system, I would love to invite you to join us over in the Writing Witch Coven on Patreon. Here, you not only get access to my printable pages, but depending on what tier you're in, you also can get physical copies in the mail, as well as prompts that pop up in the app itself, reminding you of when to do your journal prompts and giving you the optional invitation to share what's coming up for you with the group. So if you're curious about that, the link for that will be on the screen right now, and it'll also be linked down below. It was so nice to get to have my mom come and visit this fall. She lives down south and she hasn't been on a trip up here in a really, really long time. Now, while I wouldn't necessarily say that I come from a family of witchy people, I definitely come from a line of magical people who really enjoy nature. Even though my mom is not the biggest nature girl, she can appreciate a nice walk in the woods just as much as any of the rest of us. And just for old time's sake, since we were all together and there was a cool tree, we all had to climb it. So what my mom actually came to town for was this really awesome John Williams concert. Now, if you don't know who John Williams is, he has done the soundtracks to many of your favorite magical movies, and if you want to actually hear what some of these songs were that we got to hear performed live, stay tuned to the end of the video. With the way YouTube works, I'm not entirely sure if I include the songs if I'll get a copyright strike, so my method is I'm going to put clips of the songs at the end of the video, and if for some reason there's an issue, I can just silence that part. But fingers crossed, you'll be able to hear the songs at the end. There are so many different ways that we can engage with the theme of the harvest. In my sister's old yard, apparently a squirrel or something planted seeds and she got a surprise corn. Back on the home front was the broccoli, which didn't exactly get florets, but that's okay. The foliage of many of our vegetables are edible. You can use broccoli leaves in pretty much the same way that you would use spinach in a recipe. So in a recent video, somebody commented saying that K-cups are super unethical because they're not eco-friendly, and that is true. In my own defense, I did not explain in that video because sometimes it's just impossible to explain every detail of a person's life. You're just getting to see the highlights, but I almost never use K-cups. However, there was a really fun sample set of a bunch of fall flavors that I just genuinely wanted to try. There are eco-friendly ways that you can use them. The few K-cups that come across my path usually end up being used as gardening containers when it comes time to start seedlings. I want you guys to know that living a green witch eco-friendly lifestyle is never perfect, and every once in a while you are going to have to kind of use your judgment and decide, how can I take this potentially not eco-friendly practice and make the best of it by making it as eco-friendly as I personally can. Sometimes that's all we can do, and we need to give ourselves credit for doing that.